What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Tuesday Track Talk. A little weird Tuesday Track Talk today. I'm your tire changer, Cam.
I'm your Jackman, Kellen.
And if you're listening or watching, you're noticing that we're missing one of the guys today. Stuff just going on outside of work. Had to take care of some things and
Yeah.
running a man short today. So,
Yeah, it was I should have known something was up because I come home on Sunday to fire trucks and the police for a dryer fire in the apartment building. So scramble out, get that all situated. We get the cat back in. I get ready for bed. Fiance comes home from work. Wake up on Monday morning, no internet. Of course, you call at 7 o'clock in the morning, they can't get anyone in there right away on that day.
mm-hmm.
So he comes in. Takes him about 2 minutes to fix it. Oh, yeah, you're good. And then he gets ready to leave. He goes, yeah, I stopped yesterday, but there was no one around. I had to fix it yesterday. I'm like, give me a break.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Leave
So,
a note at the door or something.
yeah, well, it's scheduled for Monday. He goes, yeah, I had time, so I just figured I'd stop by, but there was no one here. I'm like, yeah, you mean because when you give me a service time from 8 in the morning to 5 at night, like that's super convenient for the average working man.
Yep. Or even say, hey, you're not my next stop. I'll be there in 10 minutes.
Shoot me a text and I can be home in 30 seconds. My God.
Yep.
But he
Yep.
goes, I stopped and there was no one there. I'm like, yeah, I was at work. Sorry about that. So,
And knowing the internet company that's down there, that sounds about right, unfortunately.
yeah. So, well, it's now you're going to watch this on Wednesday, but it's Tuesday night.
Yep.
And we're going to,
Which we'll blame it on the cup race too, with them moving to Monday.
yeah,
Everything shifts the schedule. But we get some news coming out of this week as well to cover as well. So
sweet. All right.
that's different. But we'll make her work.
Yeah, we're here.
So well, I think we got the what's happened since last time out of the way. So should we talk about a little bit of racing that happened this weekend?
Yeah, there was enough of it to make an episode. So I,
Yep.
I suppose.
I want to touch on the IndyCar race real quick. First off, it was really weird not hearing Lee Diffie on the broadcast for that one. But as I think everybody knows by this point, he's going to be jumping into the NASCAR booth, possibly starting this weekend. Not confirmed, but possibly.
Yeah.
Um, so it was weird having a different broadcast, but either way, they did really good with it. Um, I am definitely a strategic race to kind of fan.
Yep.
And you had it with them racing at St. Louis. They had three different fuel strategies going on throughout that race. And it was all kind of depending on how cautions fell and when stops were made. Guys were saving gas, obviously, and it made for a really interesting race, along with a couple of wrecks that came along the way. So, one of the things that happened was Will Power and David Malukas were battling with each other, and Power came down a little bit. Malukas came up a little bit. Who's to say? That
Yep.
sent Malukas to the wall, and as you see it in auto racing a lot, that just spirals everything else out of control, and everything happens afterwards.
Yep, that's it's the caution breeds caution, but it's all of the strategies that have been playing out that you're just like you're scratching your head going, oh well, what's group one or fuel strategy one gonna do? And then they're split, and
Yep,
from there it's chaos.
yep. On some of the ensuing restarts, Joseph Newgarden has the lead, and Scott McLaughlin's behind him. Uh, we've talked about this in the past. A little bit of the games being played on the restarts, and they do single file restarts here.
Yeah.
Um, in this instance, I don't remember if yes, they had cleared out the lap cars. So actually, they line up the lap cars in the single file line with the leaders. But in
Yep.
this instance, they had cleared the lap cars out. Joseph Newgarden's coming to the line. Leader gets to go when the leader wants to go, type of thing.
Yep.
Leader hadn't gone yet, but the green light came on, so fifth place saw the light and just went for it, and you had that pile up between fourth, fifth, and seventh, I think is what it was.
Yep.
So, and of course, one of them was Will Power, Joseph Newgarden's teammate, and as Joseph's coming by because they had the red flag the race on pit road,
Yep.
gave them a one-fingered salute
Yeah,
to
I
him.
saw that. I'm like, good Lord.
So the discussion really came to, was it a fair restart? Was it a dirty restart? And I talked to one of my colleagues from work today. He's a big IndyCar fan. He says, "Oh, I was dirty." It's just how slow of a pace it was. Was it pace car speed? Maybe, but with how slow of a pace it was,
Yep,
that's what caused the pileup. So,
for sure. Yeah, a little gamesmanship question mark.
yep. And that was kind of the thing that came into play too, is like, because then the following restart, I mean, as soon as he got basically halfway through four, he was gone.
Yep. Yeah.
So he had two completely different restarts at that point.
Yeah.
So,
Checked out.
yep. So, ultimately, Joseph Newgard did get the win in that one, which is kind of a bounce for kind of a very up and down season for him. He's kind of out of the points race now, but obviously won the Indy 500 earlier this year, had the points penalty from the, uh, oh, what the hell am I thinking of?
Yep.
Push to pass penalty from
Yep.
earlier this year.
Yeah.
So, kind of a tumultuous up and down season, getting on the right foot, but rattling some cages, or kind of displeasuring some drivers as well in the process. So,
I was gonna say it was yeah, it's a rattling cage is a good way to put it a little bit more, but noted.
also talking to my colleague, and I can agree with this, probably hands down the best oval race so far this year for the IndyCar schedule.
Sweet.
Just again with the strategies that were into play and some of the things that happened throughout that race, definitely hands down one of the best ones, which hopefully is a good sign of them heading into Milwaukee here in a couple weekends. So,
Yeah, very similar type tracks.
yep, for sure. So St. Louis putting on some good racing here recently,
Yeah, for sure.
turning one of the good tracks. So I wanted to pop that one in there real quick just because I think it was worth the mention.
Yeah.
Obviously IndyCar season run it's coming down to the end here. All pretty much the top five of the points also kind of struggled, so it shook up the points a tad bit.
I always love a good points battle late in the season.
Absolutely. So all right, let's hop into one of the I think one of the big crown jewels in the dirt late model scene, the Topless 100. I kind of forgot this one was happening this weekend.
So same with me. I'm like looking at it, like, oh, Lucas Oil's going to Batesville, and I don't think a thing of it. And then I go to look at the schedule, and a couple guys like JD had put out a shirt for it, and it's a girl with her hair hanging over her boobs and the topless thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, wait,
Oh,
that's
that's
and
weird.
I'm like, oh shit, that's right. Which I was gonna flip on Flow anyway, so I'd have seen it, but I'm like, god damn.
It's the
So
Topless 100,
yeah, yeah,
which
yeah,
is interesting. It's just the one time a year that the guys take the tops off, and you're just
yep,
all you see is the little roll cage, and that's it.
yep, yep. The roll kids, and then all the animated helmets that the guys have. They kind of
Yep.
if they have like a brighter color to them, you can always see their noggins in there. So
It's almost one of those. That's one of those races that you get a special helmet just for that race.
for sure,
Just
yep,
it's just because they're going to be able to see it. So
yeah, it'll stand out for
for
sure.
me and my curiosity thing, I wonder how that changes downforce
Yeah,
too, and how the airflow.
so that's where and I'm not 100% certain how it works, but the roof of those dirt late models, they all have that little V on the back.
Sure.
It's supposed to help with the aerodynamics off the rear of the car. So I'm sure it plays in it somehow, but it's almost it begs the question of, is that race have its own drastically different setup? Or can you look at your notebook and go, for a first timer that's going to Batesville for the topless?
Set it up by the track versus the
Yeah, then
yeah.
versus the topless. Like when I look at my notebook, if I compare that place to somewhere very similar to it, and I'm going there for the first time, when you take the top off, am I going to be in the ballpark or am I going to be terrible?
Yeah.
That's the question. That's what I would have to ask. Like,
Yep.
are we in the ballpark if you're at a track that's very similar? Or is it just drastically that aero different?
Yeah. So maybe next time we run into one of the outlaw guys, we have to just kind of poke that question at them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
So
absolutely. But
I'm gonna let you take the shot at this one because I had to work that day and was falling in and out of sleeplessness on that one. So I kind of caught glimpses of it at the race. So I'll let you take the controls on this one.
yeah, so man, basically they took off, and we'll touch on this a little bit later. Lap 18 was the shot of Crown Royal for Bloomer. And we'll talk about him in a little later here in the episode. But I mean, from there, RTJ took off. He got into lap traffic quick. Um, so he got into lap traffic, 10 laps in. Dalton Wilson, he just got crushed. He was done. He was eighth in the points coming in, so he just got turned and really nothing he could do. And then we had another kind of 30 lap run. You get to lap 65, Stormy Scott and Drake Troutman get turned around on the front stretch. So again, it just kind of regroups the guys. From that, a caution breeds caution. We had a damn hell of a race for the lead going on there. From that lap 65 to lap 58 with RTJ and Tim McCready. Those dude were just throwing absolute monster sliders at each other. It was impressive to watch. Um,
And
they were
at
racing
least from
hard
the little bit that I saw, taking advantage of, because it definitely slicked off throughout
for
the race.
sure.
So
Oh,
taking advantage of the little grip that she had before she really truly slicked off.
yep. And unfortunately, there's really nothing anyone could do when they had to break that up after Mikey Marler blew up. So that kind of regrouped them. From there, Tim McCree grabbed the lead on the next restart. And he just kind of took off from there. RTJ, he blew a right rear from the lead with 35 to go, so those guys kind of went back and forth. And then Tim McCready grabbed the lead again, so that was kind of the class of the field. But honestly, it was again one of these races. We were like at Cedar Lake, we looked and like, where Dustin, where'd he come from?
Yep.
JD did the same thing. He started deep, and all of a sudden, late in that race,
Here he
oh,
is.
JD got by Huddy for third, and you're going, where the hell did he come from? And he had that thing on the top, and he was just ripping around the top. Um, really from there, 13 to go. Moran blows the right rear, and then ultimately it went on that last restart. McCready just took off, so um, he grabbed the win there. But yeah, man, a lot of storylines in the race. Some point implications, but a lot of right rear issues with that track slicking off like that, and guys, one having to abuse them on the bottom, but two also running right up against the fence.
Mm.
So yeah, it was a pick your poison type of track for um 100 big laps. But ultimately, what it comes down to, Tim McCready, his first win with Rocket, so a pretty cool deal, but also his second topless that he's won. So
Yep.
McCready, Davenport, Alberson, Dotson, RTJ, Huddy, Carson Ferguson, Boom Briggs, Dale McDowell, Devin Moran round out your top 10.
I think for TMac, that was kind of it got to the point where it wasn't a matter of when or if, it was a matter of when.
Yep.
That team, especially with that new, was it Rocket 2 or whatever it is,
Yep.
that car has been clicking as of late.
Yep.
And they finally got everything to kind of work in their favor. And
Yeah, for sure. So it was, yeah, again, you knew that McCready wasn't going to go the whole year without winning a race. It was just going to be a matter of when.
yep.
Talk about a good time to get it done. It's a $50,000 payday, and it's a second
Yep.
topless. So, um, yeah,
And a guy that's done a lot of racing against Bloomer too, to boot.
yeah, for sure,
So,
absolutely.
and he was elated on that car. I mean, Christ, he damn near fell backwards
I know.
celebrating on that car.
Yeah, it's always the weird when you crawl up there. You usually jump up on the roof and you're looking around going, I got a little halo to stand on. But
I'm
no,
sure a
really,
lot of what, vodka waters, was that what he was?
yep. Yep.
I'm sure a lot of them went down on.
Yeah, the vodka waters in the simple solo cup. I mean,
Yep.
that was so great.
Yep.
But no, good race. A lot of movers and shakers. JD coming from deep. Garrett Alberson with a podium finish again. Um, so yeah, hell of a race.
And obviously, as you kind of think about it, you got to kind of look at the point standings going into it here. RTJ is 245 up on Moran, Davenport's 250 back, and then you got a big gap to McCready as well. So, I mean, I don't know exactly how the points break up, but I would almost say you're at a 3-horse race, but it's
Yep.
Moran and Davenport kind of got to step it up a little bit if they're going to, excuse me, catch RTJ here on the later goal.
Yeah, for sure. So JD's been running well of late.
Yep.
He's definitely with those 2 prelim night wins 2 weeks ago, but also a good run again here coming from deep. So yeah, the guys are gathering up. You know, you're still a stretch away, but you're a couple right rears from closing that gap in a real hurry.
Yep.
So
Yep, for sure. So,
sweet. Yeah.
no, good race. Well, I'll have to remember to mention that it's the Topless 100 next year.
No kidding.
But no, always a good time. Um, no, good deal. So, you want to move on to our little bit bread and butter and talk about some Midwest Tour racing?
Yeah, for sure.
So, Midwest Tour is down at Hawkeye Downs for the Hawkeye 100 this weekend. Their one and only trip down in Iowa. Um, definitely a different type of field. You know, when the entry list first came out, there wasn't, you know, the big one obviously was the points leader in Sommers
Yep.
not being there, or not, sorry, not the points leader, but one of the top runners in the points not being there. And then of course he pulled a Fredrickson. Yeah, we're gonna come in today.
Yeah. Yeah. But to boot, they asked about him and what has he had issues with all year? Power plants. Well, they wanted to make sure they had the right bullet in that thing. Well, they did, but
Yeah, they did.
they left you until, and I get it, you can schedule social media posts to go out at certain times, but they waited till about freaking noon on Saturday to go, oh yeah, we're racing today, by the way. I'm like,
Yep.
just you knew anyone that was following the Midwest Tour was going, where's Sommers?
Yep. And
So you're
again,
like,
especially like with him being in the running for the points, you know, Majeski isn't going to be there.
of
Obviously,
course.
Vandergeest is in the running as well, so you got that fight going on.
It's almost it gets to be one of those scenarios that if you can't get your car ready, you got to find someone that's got a car that you can rent.
Yep, exactly.
If you're gonna run for the title, you got to make a decision like that. But
The other thing with that too is that you had not surprises, but just different entrants in this as well. Brian Sayerkeski, I think he's made his second appearance in racing because he ran at Ruffner in lacrosse earlier this year.
yep,
So first with the Midwest Tour.
yep,
Swanson, he made kind of appearance. Bryce Miller made an appearance.
yep,
Kendrick Cryer,
yeah,
Kendrick Cryer and John Beal, those were two big ones that made an appearance as well.
yeah, yeah. You just kind of had a mixed group of strong surprises, and
Yep.
then Midwest Tour regulars who were there a year ago.
And then they had a lot of the Hawkeye Down regulars too
Yeah,
that ran that one. Um, Griffin McGrath, kind of surprised he wasn't there.
yep.
And then I thought there was another one, but maybe that's the only one I'm thinking of. Of course, so Griffin McGrath, I think, is getting really heavy into that INX Legends series because I think he sells a lot of those cars.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
that he might have his hands a little too deep in that to be able to do his own stuff anymore.
Easy way to find a ride if you ever want
True, true.
one.
So, by way of invert, Kendrick Cryer ended up starting up front. He leads early over Fredrickson, and obviously with Fredrickson right up front, you know he's gonna be damn good. That's kind of one of those flat, fast tracks that we kind of realized last year at lacrosse that he's kind of liking those type of tracks.
He is. That's the lacrosse half mile, about 4 degrees of banking. That's where he strives there.
Yep.
So very similar to this place as well in terms of that lacrosse type feel.
I think before we go any farther, we do got to touch on Fredrickson. One, putting the Bloomer sticker on the door,
Yep.
and then they ended up raffling off four doors that had the bloomer stick on them, which I think what, $4,500
The total was 30, 39, 80 something or
of the
38, 90
four
something.
winning doors. Yeah.
Yep, the total of the highest four bidders. So
So
pretty
cool
cool
deal
deal.
there.
Yeah, I was gonna say the money is going down to Scott's daughter.
Yep. And
So
then Danny threw out the, I wouldn't call it a fun fact, but the story of their hauler was a former Bloomquist hauler as well.
yep, bought that from a year ago. So
So
yeah.
little connection there.
Yep, for
So
sure.
otherwise James Lynch, he pulled off early, lap 43. I wonder if he kind of had lingering motor issues because they had the motor issue from Kakana,
Yep,
and throughout the entire race they worked on that motor. They never changed the motor and they worked on it.
yep,
Fired it up a couple times in the pits, and I don't know if they ever did change it again afterwards or not. So who's to say, maybe it was a lingering issue?
yeah.
But then obviously Sommers, he stormed through the field. You knew he was going to be a favorite coming in. He just made his way through.
Yep, for sure.
Um, 57, Sire Keski, he brings out the caution from a spin. Must have broke something because then he never came back out
Yep,
after that.
yeah. It
Um,
would be.
regroups the field with Mondyke having some of the fastest laps to that point then as well.
Yeah, he was coming. They were because when I watched it, they were talking about it. He was 10th, 2 tenths faster than the field, and he was coming. Um, he just ultimately what it comes down to, just came up a little bit short, but that mid to late there, that 20, 25 to go, he he was on a mission for sure.
Mm-hmm. And another guy that was on a mission, obviously Sommers was up to the front, and with that restart, he kind of got up front, worked Fredrickson a little bit, and eventually got by him. But John Beal, he
Yeah,
worked his way through the field as well.
that one was a surprise to me. That's in the those the Gildan guys are good. They're
Yep.
good. There's no doubt about it. But
And obviously, I'm sure Zier was there calling the shots and spotting all that too. So he's a damn good driver in his own right.
yeah, for sure. So he just all of a sudden kind of the same deal as JD at the Topless. It was late in the race, and all of a sudden he was there.
Maybe a little bit of saving your stuff because
Yep,
it's a longer race and you get some cautions to group yourself back up.
for sure.
Could definitely be that type of deal. So
Yeah,
he ended up getting by Ty with 19 to go. Closed on Sommers pretty good, and you wondered if he was going to put anything to him. But he just kind of struggled once he did end up getting to Sommers.
yeah. It really watching it, he could get within a car. He could get to the bumper, but he just never really had enough to make a move that he could really get his nose in there. Just
Gained him in, lost him out,
yep,
basically.
for sure. He was gonna have to drive it in real hard on the bottom, and it just cost him his drive off on the straightaways, but that definitely made it interesting without a doubt.
Yeah. And then
So
obviously Kendrick Cryer had a pretty good run, just kind of minded his own, stayed up there,
yeah, for sure.
which with him still trying to figure out, especially a super late, you
Yeah.
got it just staying in the mix is a big thing for him.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially these longer races is just being able to run all the laps to know, hey, when I get to lap 90, this is where my car might trend. So just being there,
Yep.
building that notebook of experience of, hey, at lap 90, here's where I'm at. This is what it's going to take, or how I can adjust on a long run.
Yep, for sure.
So,
When it comes down to it, though, Sommers does end up pulling off the win. Goes back to back, as you could say. Um, Sommers, Beal, Cryer, Fredrickson, Cody King, Riley Stenjum, Levon Vandergeest, Joe Valento, Bryce Miller, and Siegelman were your top 10 in that one. And, I kind of talked about the point standings as well. Obviously, with Majeski not being there for this one, you had the big shakeup in the point standings. Sommers and Vandergeest leapfrog Majeski heading to Madison later this week, which we'll talk about. Sommers is in the lead by 10 points, and then Majeski's back by 24. So getting down to the wire, and you're getting the good race going on here
Yeah, and
again for the point standings.
there's not a lot of events left for the Midwest Tour either.
And again, you got Elko coming up, Dells. So you got 3 events pretty damn close to each other up until Oktoberfest. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're kind of in the midst of their heaviest part of their schedule right now, actually.
they're kind of dog days of summer, a late summer.
Dog days of September. August, September.
Yep.
So that's where this week could be interesting too.
Yep, for sure.
You got the Kaukauna Thursday night blue race.
Yeah, which that was a postponement from last week.
And then you go to the Howie on Friday at Madison.
Yep.
Touch on a minute here. So plenty of super late model racing up here in the state of Wisconsin if you want to get to some.
Got that right. And it's getting into championship season too for that as well.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of tracks up here. So
yep.
No, overall good, another good race. Good to see some surprise entrants. We'll see some more on Friday, which we'll talk about here in a bit. Again, shaping up to be a good end of the year for these guys.
You know, it was good to see that we weren't roughing each other up.
Yes, that was we needed a good race.
You're at the end of the day, you're going to have a little rubbing his racing, and at some point, somebody's going to get turned, but to what degree? But it was just good to see that the Midwest Tour was back to putting on the racing product that we know we can.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, refreshing and great to see that again.
For sure. So. All right. Want to talk some Cup racing at Michigan?
Yeah, Monday morning actually.
Yeah. So obviously you ran a good chunk of that race early on. And then obviously, like we were saying, we had the postponement after Hamlin went spinning in the grass, which I think that caught a lot of guys off guard. Of wow, Hamlin just lost it on his own. Which and especially with Michigan, you get the aero game coming into play, and I mean you saw it happening. Is he went up, he was just too close to Bubba and lost the nose, and just round you went.
Yep, got himself in a tough aero spot, and that was it.
He even said it too. He's like, I probably shouldn't have done that. Gabe Hart's on the box.
Yep.
Goes, yeah, you probably shouldn't have.
Yep. That roughed up the underbody of that car. It just kind of changed the handling of that unit for the rest of the race.
Which that's another discussion we'll talk about here in a little bit. That underbody.
Yeah, but that flipped his track position, which was critical in being able to pass. Well, one, pass cars, but two, once you got track position, you had to be able to hang on to it. So
absolutely.
Kind of flipped his race upside down.
Yep, but then after that, that's when the rain started coming down. They just lost the track, and better to postpone it. Which unfortunately to have to postpone it because they don't have the lights. Got to be done at a certain time, and just couldn't see it getting done at that certain time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, otherwise, when you're cutting your race length and strategies are playing out weird, and yeah, the whole situation just better to go back on Monday and let the rest of it play out.
Which there was a big discussion. I think Gluck and Bianchi were going to talk about on their podcast about the 1 p.m. starts versus the 2 o'clock start, 3 o'clock start that we had here, which would it have saved the race? Who knows?
Yep.
Because you had that initial rain delay as well. But man, that's just, but then, to NASCAR's point too, it's that window of opportunity to capture as many people watching the race as well, which is ultimately more money in the pockets of NASCAR, which you talk about, the distribution of said funds to the race teams. That's a whole nother discussion that Hamlin talks about in his podcast.
Yep, for sure.
So it's just, it's a tough spot for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's just, what do you do?
Yeah, for sure.
I think Larson was a fan of 1 o'clock, if I remember right.
Yes, he was. He even took to Twitter for that.
Yep. So,
So,
yep. When we got back to it though, had a quick race to the stage break.
yeah.
Um, but we ended up getting the green flag pit stops as well. And then I ended up having to listen to a race, so I was kind of on and off with it as well. But then you had the weird deal between Gilliland, Logano, and Allmendinger all having problems at the same. Or no, sorry, Nemechek.
Yeah. It was like, oh, Logano blew a tire and then they panned to the screen and it's a 16 sitting there. And I'm like, what?
And then
And
you
they're
see
like,
Nemechek
oh,
coming down pit road, and
yeah. And they're like, oh, the 22 is having issues too. And you're like, what the hell?
yeah,
But what it sounded like is they ran something over.
yeah,
That was the
because I
best that I could, as I was listening, that was the best anyone could guess is that they had run something over on the track somewhere.
yeah, because it's just you see three of them all lose it at the same time. That just
And
yeah,
kind of to boot to that, you got a Chevy, a Ford, and a Toyota.
the, not discriminating by any means too. So
But like
yeah,
that's
it's
what I'm
just
saying. It was just like it wasn't like it was two of the Penske
was it
cars.
a Ford issue or yeah,
Yeah, no, you
yep,
look at it and you're like, well, one, two, three, and they're all different makes. It's like, okay.
yeah, and it's like yeah, you turn your head, oh, he's having a problem. Before you know it, here's another guy having a problem. There's another one having a problem.
Yeah, for sure.
So
That was weird.
yeah, got back to green flag racing again. A little bit of strategy coming into play, but a lot of long green flag runs. And then we have probably the second of the big instances because we had Kyle C go over in the Xfinity race on Saturday, and then we have Corey LaJoy go over on the Monday race. Blow over, literally.
They posted a picture on somebody posted a picture on Twitter. Those two hit the inside wall a mere
The,
like feet from each other.
yep,
It was like 2 feet difference that they hit that inside wall at the exact same spot.
it's insane. So obviously that brought up a discussion of okay, why did he flip? Because that should not happen.
It was eh, he had a little something to say about the 10 and it was chopping him, but like
Of how he got in that spot to start with.
yeah, you watch the in car, it wasn't anything egregious. It kind of felt like a
He
block
went high
line
and
drafty, and yeah, he
yeah,
was coming up to carry a little speed. It was just to me, I would label it a racing deal.
I would as well.
It wasn't
Yep.
anything egregious. It just one moved down 6 inches, one moved up 6 inches, and there
And
they
they
were.
touched. Yep.
Oh, and he
Yep.
just touched, and he turned around, and upside down he was.
Yep.
Really?
And Kenny Wallace had a good point with it. And I'm gonna pull this up on Twitter because I want to get this right. I mean, a lot of them were talking about the underbody on the car as kind of the reason for it. Um, Kenny Wallace says nowadays it's because of the turtle shell bottom. It's because it's so sealed up and it's a solid surface, no room for that air to escape, and it's the maximum amount of lift going on underneath that car. And it's
Yeah.
just, I mean, you saw it with Priest at Daytona last year.
He,
It's he caught that little bit of air and it just
oh, yeah.
and then Busher at Texas did that same thing. I think his was a little more he dug into the grass and it
Yeah, it was a little different scenario, but
with Priest it was the
it didn't help it, that's for sure.
correct. Correct. So I mean that was the thing is that it's just there's so much air lifting on it that it's just nothing to do. Um and Junior even chimed in too and said that cars have been flipping in NASCAR since the beginning. It's an unpleasant consequence of going fast, and we should always go fast.
Noted.
So I don't just I saw that, and obviously that stirred a lot of conversation as well as to what happened and what needs to be done. I mean, Burton was very critical of it as well on the broadcast and saying we've spent millions of dollars and however many hours on this, and we still have cars flipping in the air on their own.
Yes. Especially for that one, it just that one stood out a little bit more because it was just such a simple spin.
Yep.
He got turned around, and that car went backwards, and as soon as that tail of the car was in the lead, that car went vertical.
It surprised everybody when it went over.
Yeah, you're just thinking they're moving along. Don't get me wrong. You're thinking
Yep.
simple spin. If he maybe can get it locked down, he's going to catch the inside wall. It definitely, I don't think would have been an egregious hit. He
It'd have been a
probably
hit.
it'd have been a hit, but he'd have climbed out and have been, oh yeah, we got turned, we caught the inside wall. That is what it is. But um,
Lo and behold, here he is, and
and
up he
he
went.
slid forever on his lid.
Yep.
He slid a long ways. I'm like, it's almost like the Talladega Nights wreck. It's like it's never ending.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, is he gonna stop? And then he caught the grass and luckily landed on all fours.
Because I was listening to the radio broadcast. I don't know what you were listening to or watching at that point. It's just, I think they come back from commercial, they're talking about something. You just hear Alex Hayne go, Corley Joy is up in the air on the backstretch.
Yep.
I'm like, what?
That's what exactly was because Cam, his stream must have been a little bit ahead of us or his radio broadcast, whatever he goes, LaJoy just flipped. And I was sitting at my desk at the time and I had it on one of my screens and I look or a commercial break and they come back and all you see is the car go like this. And you're like,
Yep.
well, nice. So
Yep. I think
yeah.
I got to the point during that race where I didn't look at any messages from you guys for a solid 3 minutes. Just to
Let it play out.
Yeah, exactly.
On it, yeah.
Exactly.
But
So that was just a freak deal and it's all right. And you put out the fact in here, and I saw this as well. He's the first one to flip twice in a season since Rusty did it in '93, which I'm assuming one of those was probably that Talladega one, or yeah, that Talladega one that he had.
yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Coincidentally enough, Ross's was also at Talladega, or not
Yep.
Ross's, Corey's.
Yep.
So, um, so obviously you gather everybody back up, you get some restarts coming in, and I tell you what, Ross was in the spot that he needed to be to gain some points up until he spun later in that race.
There was so much juking and jiving going on in the middle of the pack. You're just like watching it and everybody's like going everywhere. You're like, this ain't gonna go well. But up until that point, and you could see it when the camera he had an in-car in. Um he was pretty dejected when the camera panned to him and he's sitting in the grass waiting for a push.
Yep.
He knew the strategy he had what he needed to have himself a good points day, and it just the chaos of that restart just again just a racing deal, one up, one down. He gets turned,
Yep.
long slide ends up in the grass, needing a push. It's just like you could tell he knew that was what he needed.
And then the same thing with Larson and Bubba and that wreck as well. Just
Yep.
Larson lost it racing in the middle of the pack, and them guys just got collected into it.
Yep, for sure.
Then again, when the points battle so tight, especially at that cutoff line, and every point matters, you got to be clicking off good races.
Yeah, for sure.
So we get down to green white checkered, and there was again, you got a little bit of the are we going to have enough gas to get where we need to get to? And ultimately we did. And we ended up having a pretty good race coming to the line.
Yeah, the green white checker was Byron closed up there. I was surprised he got as close as he did.
Yep.
Definitely wasn't a photo, but like he cut that apron a little bit. I'm like, is he gonna get within a half a
Is he
car?
going to steal it? Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
So ultimately, though, Tyler Reddick gets a win. Looking at the fantasy deal, they said he was going to be a not hot because he's finished outside of the top 20 in most of his races there. But he's also been on a 6-race top 6 finish streak,
Yep,
which is ultimately now 7. So you want to talk about a team that's getting hot at the right time.
for sure. Absolutely.
Gets his
And
second win of the year.
Jordan hang around on Monday or no?
He did not. He went home.
Because that was funny. They were interviewing Bubba, and Bubba goes, that was on Sunday when he was up front fast.
Yep.
You're like, oh yeah, the boss is here today, Jordan. He goes, oh really? He goes, what did he say? Usually he's out fishing. He said usually he's out doing something else. He goes, must have been here today because he knew we were going to be fast. But
Yep.
even Bubba kind of made a comment like,
But
"Oh,
even then, Bubba had a really good car too.
he did."
Was
And
he a race winning car? Who knows? But he was gonna make sure that they talked about him.
he was going to be a top six car for sure.
Yep.
He was going to be somebody that it maybe was going to take pitting a lap or two early or running a lap or two. It was going to take a strategy move.
Booty making a call and
Yep. But he was going to be there. And when you look at where Gibbs finished, that didn't help him.
yep.
He was going to have something to say about that leading up to the finish of that race, and knowing that where Gibbs finished now, they're kicking them. Well, they're kicking themselves, but there's nothing they could have done.
Yeah. I did hear on Sirius Radio earlier this week or last week as well that after Truex's engine blow up at Richmond, Toyota thinks they found the issue with their engines and what was causing all these failures and got it repaired. And I think obviously without any guys having any trouble this week, I think you kind of solidified that. Obviously, we still got season left to run, but it sounded like they found their issue and fixed it.
Talk about high horsepower package showing up to the track and that race and the speeds they're carrying. So I would say definitely whatever they changed was definitely the right direction.
Yep, and you want the power plant when you want it.
Yeah, most times it's now.
Yes. So
So,
when it comes down to it though, Tyler Reddick, like I said, gets his second win of the year, getting in on a hot streak. Byron, who's kind of been needing a little bit of a boost lately, he gets second place. Ty Gibbs was third. Rowdy, Kyle Busch, another guy that really needed a good run. He finished fourth. Brad K finished fifth, Busher sixth. Zane Smith, good run for him. Seventh, Suarez eighth, Hamlin ninth, Holsvar 10th. Two Spire guys finished in the top 10.
yep.
Priest and Gregson round out your top 12.
Yeah, that kind of that sixth on back, you got a little bit of a mixed bag of surprises.
And I bet you that first green white checkered had a little bit to do with that.
Yeah, for sure. Because I was looking at the results as we're kind of getting ready for today, and I'm like, Zane Smith, wow, Hocevar, both Spire cars top 10, and they were, to be honest with you, nowhere to be found all day.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, it's if you're gonna show up for 2 laps, those are really 2 good laps.
Those are two good laps to show up for. Exactly.
It didn't help them that or it helped them that Elliott and Blaney got together.
Yep.
That was
Which we never really heard anything from that other than Blaney made a comment of go ask Elliott.
yeah, he said ask the nine, so yeah. But that
That's
was
not the first time they've run into each other either.
no, it's not. Yeah, no. Yeah, that was interesting.
So we'll see where that one goes. If it even goes anywhere, we could be
Yeah.
blown out of proportion for all we know. So,
For sure. Gotta try to fabricate a little something out of
oh,
it.
absolutely. So, we got to bring in the Gluck poll, which he's probably sent it out today. So we're maybe a little low on votes. But as of what, 5 minutes ago,
Yep.
we're sitting at 81% yes, 19 no with 16,000 votes.
Yep.
I
So
think it was a good race. You had obviously the package going for it.
yeah.
You had the opportunities to pass throughout that race. You didn't necessarily get arrow blocked by any means. Obviously the rain hindered it a little bit, but I not a barn burner, but definitely a good race.
Yeah, for sure. The longer run allowed you to see strategies play out a little bit.
Yep.
That early Monday where guys are just trying to figure out what they got on that new track or green track per se.
Yep.
So they were running. You had the fuel guys stopping 2 laps early, guys running a little bit long. So that played out as well, which that part to me was the biggest intrigue of that whole situation. So,
Mm-hmm.
that the polls got 9 hours left on it. So,
Sure.
but yeah, on 16,000, no, 200 votes.
So we got to look at the standings here.
Yes.
So, right now we currently sit. Truex is 77 to the good, which I would imagine he could potentially lock after Daytona, as long as all goes well. Ty Gibbs is currently 39 above the cut line. Chris Buescher is currently 16 plus above the cut line, and then Ross and Bubba are separated by 1 point going into Daytona.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch is 93 back, Briscoe's 115 backs, and then so on and so forth. So you get to some of them guys where they're in must-win situations going to the last 2 races of the year.
Yeah, that's Bubba just finds himself
That,
in this situation every single year.
but I tell you what, he's also one of them guys that he gets hot when he needs to at the end of the regular season and can find his way in.
For sure. But it just always feels like we're going to Daytona and he's one
Yep.
to the good or one to the bad every single year it
He's
feels.
always on that cut line. He's like, this is the race that can lock him in.
Yeah, it's
And
the
rightfully so. He's a damn good speedway driver, super
he
speedway
is.
driver.
It's the other 37 guys on the track that you can't account for that
Yep.
is
Which, again, we saw that last weekend.
is the nightmare of Daytona.
Yep. So we're getting a good points battle for the last few spots going into it. But I think we also got to mention too this regular season point standings, the regular season championships heating up as well.
Yep.
Reddick takes the lead now. He's 10 points over Elliott. Hamlin is 28 back, and then Larson dropped to 4th, 32 back with his DNF this year, his 4th one on the year.
Yeah.
Uh, so, and that's 15 valuable playoff points going into it as well. So,
Yeah, those are the ones you carry with you every round that you're like kind of playing with a little bit of house money if something goes wrong.
so looking at this, I'm amazed by this. Reddick is the only one that has double digits of top fives on the season. He's sitting at 11 top fives.
Yeah.
Almost half of his races this year, he's been in the top 5.
Yep.
That's just insane.
Hamlin and
Absolutely
Larson.
insane.
Oh. Hamlin and Larson both at 9. Then you
Yep.
go down Byron
Yeah.
8.
Kozlowski at 8.
Yep. And then Blaney and Elliott at 7.
So again, shaping up to be a good regular season championship playoff as well.
Yeah.
Excuse me. No, it's gonna be good. I'm excited.
It's next week's gonna determine a lot, potentially by no one's own doing.
Correct. So no, any other final thoughts with the cup race here before we move on?
The interrupted 2-day race was good. Didn't like the 2-day split. Had to do what you had to do to make a decision to give the best racing product. But ultimately, once they got going to change the balance of some cars, guys were having to adjust, and it was a good race.
It was a mid-race debrief session, is what it kind of got you.
Yep, look at a little SMT, try to figure out what the track's gonna do. Are we gonna come down right away and adjust on it? Or are we gonna ride it out and see what we got?
Yep.
A little, it's kind of like the unknown of the rain tire a little bit, or the soft tire, kind of same
Yep.
deal a bit where it's like, all right, got a little debrief here. We look at a little SMT data and go, all right, what do we got to do? But then you're also going out on a green track.
Yep. 100%. So
yeah, good though. I'd be confident going back there with that same package next year and going, yeah, we'll be good.
Yep. Same. Absolutely. So,
Sure.
all right, let's the part of the program that we can never figure out a name for.
It's a different name every week, but
Yep.
same
I
category.
think, yep. This year we got the racing fun facts is what we're calling it here. And we've got quite a few of them here. So buckle in. This was a busy week.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is probably the biggest list of facts that we have, and then we have a few dominoes that go with a few of these facts. So
yep. So we're gonna stick local with this first one here. These are never good ones, so I guess it's not exactly a fun fact, but these are never good ones you want to see. Beaver Dam, they're going back on their schedule for next year. They are seizing their weekly racing there and are sticking with only their specials, which you presumably would have the World Outlaws there.
Yep, the sprint cars will show up, and then
Late models should have a race there as well, I
any
believe.
of the other big features that they host throughout the year, memorials or specials. I'm not super familiar with Beaver Dam, but
I had a chance to go there this year for the Outlaws, when they
yeah,
had their postponement of the Jim Boyd, uh, the second night there for that one. So
yeah, that's a bummer, because it just the drivers that run there weekly, it might be somebody that's 10 minutes down the road. Well, then you look at it and go, well, I've got a car and I can run 3 nights a year. Do I
yep.
travel to race? Can I afford to travel to race? Then you start to ask the question of, is my car going to be for sale now? So
Yep.
just
And I never really looked at, and I think a lot of it usually it comes down to car counts is usually what it is. And I never really looked to see what their weekly car counts look like to
yeah,
see if that's what the issue is. But it, if there's a bright side to it, at least they're still open and they're going to have some races throughout the year.
yeah,
Just a shame to not see them on a weekly
yeah.
basis.
You won't see them on a weekly basis, but I'll bet you any money when they open up for those specials, they'll be
Oh
full.
yeah. Yep.
They will be full. So
Absolutely.
that
Uh
is kind of the positive side to it, I guess.
yep.
But
Getting there, like I said, I had the opportunity to be there. Kind of a track that's right on the outskirts of Beaver Dam. Um, Big, massive facility, insanely huge. Neat little track.
cool.
It's a neat track. So
Yeah.
was happy to get there this year for it.
Yeah. Especially now hearing the news now.
Yep. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
um, some Cars Tour news, and this is a follow up to the follow up of the DQ that we had a couple weeks ago at North Wilkesboro.
This is
Uh,
as of like
Hour ago.
7:30 Central. Yeah, we're like an hour from this.
Uh, Trayton Lapsevich has been reinstated as the winner of the Cars Tour race, but doesn't get the money or the points for it. Yeah, we're thinking the same thing.
Yes. Like what? Like
It's just
I because they appealed it. So he was driving for Chad Bryant Racing. They appealed it, and somewhere somebody along the line said yes, he conforms to the rule book, but yeah, you don't.
it's a weird one.
Yeah,
It's a weird one.
yeah. I don't. We've only known about this for an hour, so I don't really know what to think about that decision just yet.
Yeah.
Kind of chewing on it, going, okay, well, you admitted you made a mistake, or whoever teched it made a mistake and they corrected it. But if you're going to correct it, you probably should back that up with a little financial piece of that question mark, because that car
Yep.
was torn down. So,
Which, we're kind of going off the headline, which we could probably actually read the article here. I'm gonna try and pull it up here real quick.
because who tweeted that? Was that
Weaver.
Weaver?
And he didn't have an article on it. He just posted the synopsis of it, basically.
Correct.
Yep. So he'll say, "Let me follow up with everyone and I'll have a more thorough story out soon." So
Yeah.
possibly more details to come.
Yes. Which would be good.
Yep. Because we're all curious.
Genuinely curious. Talk about racing. This isn't a cheap thing to do this. Now we're talking about a race winner not getting a paycheck.
Yep.
That that's kind of a neat. So
It's weird.
it is very weird.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
So, um, next one, we're gonna hit a little bit of ARCA racing here. And this is, I don't know, it's a cool deal.
Yeah.
Veterini Motorsports, and they've been known to have rotating cars or doing moves like this, but they had 4 women in the race for this one. Um, and they all finished within the top 8.
Yep.
And honestly, so Isabella Robusto and Taylor Reamer are two guest appearances, I guess you could say, probably more dirt experience than anybody else. They finished second and third.
Yeah.
So good efforts by them.
Yeah. Tony Breidinger drove for them as
Yep.
well. And who was the fourth?
Sixth, Amber, I'm gonna botch this last name. Balkion.
Balkian, I think it is.
Yeah, finished
Yeah.
8th.
Um, but even so, even just that. the four women, that's a pretty cool deal, and they all had
Yep.
really good days. But on
Yep.
top of that, fielding a fifth car,
Yes.
that's a hell of an effort by an ARCA team. Like,
And knowing Venerini Motorsports, that is not unheard of, honestly.
yeah.
That doesn't surprise me one bit.
But yeah, that's a hell of an effort. That's 5 cars at the racetrack at a time. That's a pretty big deal.
And then again, having 8 of them, 4 of them finish in the top 8.
Yeah, for sure. So it
And
wasn't
the
like,
one of the few dirt races on the ARCA schedule.
yeah, so it wasn't like they just unloaded for fun for someone to come race. It was we brought you a piece. Go do something.
Correct.
So, oh, that was definitely interesting. I didn't really realize that until I saw it on Twitter. I'm like, damn, that's pretty cool.
Yep. I was kind of curious how it was gonna go going into it, especially with the two with Robusto and god damn it, the name's blanking on me. Reamer going into it.
Yeah,
Reimer. Um just for their backgrounds, but it was cool to see them have good runs.
yeah, for
So
sure.
let's see. I gotta scroll back over here. I was putting something in.
God damn it.
I'm gonna let you take this one.
All right, I'll do this one because it was my idea to put it in here. Okay. If you listen to and or watch any of the Door Bumper Clear, they allow guests to call in. They're selling t-shirts for this now. They said they gotta have a t-shirt. If you want a shirt, couchracershop.com. They're $20, 19.99. You can get yourself a t-shirt. Guest calls in talking about Larson and racing, and he lost it by himself. And the guest calls in and says, "Yeah, Larson, he must just be really hung because he just seems to step on his what all the time." He goes, "Oh, maybe he's not young money, maybe he's hung money." Well, there are now t-shirts for sale, and all it says is hung money. And then it's
Yep.
got the Couch Racers logo on the back. I
Oh
mean,
man.
Freddie Kraft is just crying laughing. He goes, "Sorry, Kyle, you're never gonna get called Kyle ever again."
Yep.
Like, oh
I always hear the phrase of, he just lost talent or he ran out of talent,
yeah.
but that's just a different way of saying it. And I hate the ran out of talent phrase as it is. I absolutely hate it. So I mean, I guess this is different.
It's yeah, that's one way to put it, I guess. But
Man,
yeah, if you're looking for that's
if
and
you're
then
looking for a shirt,
yeah, they close it out and they go, if you really love door bumper clear, you'll get yourself a shirt and wear it to the race.
yeah,
So
I will
uh,
I'll be at the Las Vegas race later this year. So I'll keep you updated.
yeah, see what the sales look like on that.
Yeah, see if we have any presents.
Oh God, that was the whole thing. It was like a 30-second clip on Twitter. God
Yep.
damn it, that was funny.
Um, I'm gonna let you take this one as well because you made this call earlier this year on a
Cam
off-season episode.
Cam did.
Oh, he did.
Mine was Madison.
Yeah, that's right.
In February we're gonna race in Madison.
Yep,
Um,
yep. I'll let you take this one de facto. Otherwise,
Yeah, so NASCAR, lots of news this week. They come out with 2025. The Clash is going to Bowman Gray Stadium. So, that is after 3 years at the LA Coliseum. You had to think something was going on when they had testing there, but then NASCAR also took over their operations.
yep.
So,
You knew it was a matter of time before they had a NASCAR sanctioned race there.
yep, for sure. It was just one of those things of how long did you forget about it? And yep, here we are.
Yep.
So,
And with those especially with the LA Coliseum, usually those races are on 3-year deals as it is.
yep.
Those exhibition type races. So it was kind of all right, it's balls in NASCAR's court. We're going back or are we not?
Yep. Uh, if you don't follow Bowman Gray Stadium, Very bull ring type track, usually known for tempers.
And hurt,
Roughly
yep,
shut
hurt
up.
feelings and bent bumpers.
Yep. But when it's called Bowman Gray Stadium, it is literally like
It's a
it should be.
stadium.
It
That
is,
is definitely a bucket list race of mine. I want to get there.
yeah, that place is, it's, the bleachers are right, not right up on the track, but you look down at the track, you're seated close to the track, you're in
You're
the,
sitting on top of them, basically.
you're in the action pretty much anywhere you sit, and you damn well know that that place is going to be packed.
Oh, it's always packed.
Packed for their weekly stuff that they do there anyways. So
Yep. Pete Pistone says, "Well, I'm bringing my parka with me," and I think Moody even said, "Yeah, I'm ready to freeze my ass off for this one."
yep,
So we'll see what the weather is like at old Bowman Gray because this is in the Carolinas. So
it'd be chilly.
no,
So
I think it'll be interesting. Obviously, I'm sure the field will be kind of the same. We'll have a little smaller field for this one, but
yep, yeah,
I'm intrigued.
intrigued, and it'll be one of those a little bit more of a showcase type race.
Put a few more bumper bars on that car.
Yep, give it the old short track format and style, and
Yep.
let them duke it out.
That's what I want. I want heat races. I want last chance races.
Yep,
I want this to be a Saturday night ran show.
yep, for sure. I'm all for it.
I'm going to let you take this next one because I will take the following one with a fact to go with it.
Got it. Another piece of the Cup Series silly season comes together. AJ Allmendinger is back Cup racing in the 16 in 2025. So, Colleague announcing that he will be moving up again. So Phil in the 16 full time. That leaves an Xfinity car open, and that also leaves the question around SVG and
And
Daniel Hemrick
others.
and then the Xfinity program. That, yeah, they got a lot going on right now.
Yep. And kind of going with that silly season and Xfinity program, SHR announced their Xfinity lineup this weekend as well. Sam Mayer is going to be leaving Junior Motorsports to jump into one of the cars, and Sheldon Creed is going to hop in one of the cars as well. So that leaves Riley Herbst out of the realm as well.
Yeah, so kind of going on that, Herbst is out. Um,
Before we get too far, the one fact that I wanted to bring up, Bob Pockris and a couple other guys reported on this today. SHR officially filed, and I want to make sure I get this right.
oh yeah,
Filed notice to the North Carolina Chamber of Commerce about its shutdown of their team. 323 employees will be laid off.
yeah,
That was what the official number was.
that's a bummer.
So I had saw that today and I had to throw that out there.
Yeah, yeah, that's a bummer.
So no, and like we said, that opens up a lot of guys looking for rides, but of a all right, what are teams planning to do?
Yeah, well, it kind of goes to rumor. See, we go back to the college thing a little bit. Well, it raises questions about Hemrick and SVG. One of the other very, very heavy rumors is that Christian Eckes is going to drive in their Xfinity program as well. So,
I think we got to bring up your boy as well. Kraus has been very well documented on that team as well.
yep, as a Chevrolet sim driver.
Yep.
So
And he's
he
been in the pit box for Colleague for a lot of races this year.
yep, on top of his 6 cup races as well.
Yep.
So,
The
um,
one thing that I think with Herbst, and I brought this up in our group chat, he's run a handful of races with Rick Ware Racing earlier this year. I just wonder if that opportunity is coming up for him.
that's what I'm starting to wonder, that he maybe hasn't announced anything, and SHR has just kind of gotten to push come to shove, and hey, we're just gonna make an announcement on here's our guys.
Start working on your things.
Yep. You and Herbst, I wouldn't be surprised if he's already got that lined up. You
Yep.
know? So I could see him going full time in that 15 next year.
Yep. And obviously there's questions around Haley too, which he has said he's pretty well committed, but I believe him, but I'll really believe him when I see it.
Money talks.
Money talks, and especially I don't remember what ride he was rumored to go to.
7.
That's right.
Yeah,
And again, we've seen the investment that Spire's been putting in here recently
yeah. That because that 7 is open yet, and they got Rodney Childers calling the
on
shots.
that seven car.
Yeah, he'd be going back to Chevy again, but
Yeah.
yeah. So kind of sticking in the rumor mill a little bit. Last one, and then we'll move on a little bit. Uh, kind of just I don't know, Saturday night, Sunday. Kind of the rumors have been swirling around Kroger, pulling their sponsorship from JTG Dort,
JTG Doherty.
and headed to RFK. The question's been kind of thrown out there: is that enough to get that charter that's still for sale?
Yep. And there was obviously early in the year, one of the JTG guys, I don't know how many there are in there. I know Doherty's obviously one of them,
Yep.
was no longer really mentioned as part of being in the team. So who's to say if there's that connection with Kroger as well? Again, this is all speculation, but it's just there's too many things that are somewhat connected with each other going on.
It's yeah, it's the when the rumor mill is the same two organizations and the same sponsor, it's kind of just like
Yep.
it's yeah, so it's almost like you just kind of go, okay, so when is it going to get announced?
Yep.
So yeah, that's a little bit of the rumor. I mean that those announcements kind of shook a little bit up with, that goes back to one of our predictions of Mayer leaving Junior Motorsports. They've got
Yep.
an open seat. They've got a young stallion that I'm sure is ready to fill that seat with a guy named Carson Quapple.
Yep.
I would have to assume that that announcement will be coming shortly.
Yep. And obviously we
At
had
assumption.
Zillage earlier this year.
Speaking of Zillage, so
Well,
yeah,
that's a very good transition into a conversation that we kind of had amongst ourselves earlier this week. Obviously Trackhouse has been doing something very different from what we've seen in years past and to a lot larger scale of leasing drivers out to other organizations and making it well known that they do this as well.
yep.
And it's just, are they doing something that other teams have just been missing on, or are they just shooting out of left field and not getting anything out of it?
Yeah, I think the potentially development wise, I think it can get guys to a higher level sooner to a certain degree. They've got 2 cup cars,
Yep. But it maybe a third depending on the charter situation.
2, maybe 3, but that leaves you with you can contract these guys, but unless your cup guys turn over, your hands
And
are tied to send them to another organization to drive for them because you only have 3 rides. They don't
yep,
have they don't have a truck ride. They don't have an Xfinity program.
correct. And
Zillage.
especially, and again, with Suarez getting his 1 year extension,
Yep.
Chastain, I would assume for the most part, is not going anywhere next year. So your 2 rides are locked up there.
Yep. So it gets guys in quicker, but it also keeps them there longer.
Yep. And I just wonder too, and I think I've brought this up in the past, was I don't think we've gotten to the point where fields throughout the year are to the point where we have DNQs for Cup Series cars.
Yep.
So is it to that point where, for lack of a better term, Trackhouse bites the bullet and just puts their extra car in there, but doesn't get the charter money that comes with it? Maybe they run more races in that 91, or maybe they introduce another car so they keep that Project 91 kind of their specialty car
Yep.
so that they can get maybe some of these leased drivers into there. I don't know. It's just
Well, going back to our silly season conversation, they got a contracted driver that at the moment is without a ride, Zane Smith,
Yep.
because they filled that car with McDowell.
Yep.
So they have a contracted driver, and you have to think that Marks has got this figured out, but nothing's been mentioned of it. He's not really even in the silly season rumor mill at this point.
Correct.
So you kind of gotta wonder, you're going, wait a minute here. He's contracted, but at the moment is not going to have a ride for next year. So yeah, I don't know. It's
So I'm looking at my favorite rumor mill website, Jayski's. Been around forever. Uh, they currently have Zane Smith is obviously on loan from Trackhouse to Spire. Trackhouse is looking for a charter to run him or SVG in 25. If Trackhouse goes with SVG, look for Smith to possibly go to front row and maybe front row getting a third car.
got it. Yep. That's if 2311 doesn't have their fingers in that charter too.
Bubba's expected return of 23. Herbst is favored to go to the 2311 car. Kind of forgot about that one, honestly.
Yeah,
So it's just,
they,
boy,
they
I don't know.
they a little bit kind of got their fingers in everything.
They
You
do.
know, it's kind of it's almost kind of a ploy to make other teams show their hand first.
We got to remember, front row is expanding to 3 cars. So they're basically essentially looking for their third driver.
Yep, for
I
sure.
think we forget about that.
Yep.
Boy, I just,
Head scratcher.
well, it's a head scratcher, but we're going to get, I think we're going to see some blockbuster moves, I think, coming up here.
Yeah, we are the furthest thing from done in all of this disaster. There's going to be a big one here somewhere that
It's going to shake everything else into place.
you're going to go, wait, I had no idea that was even a possibility.
Yep. Yep. Somebody's keeping something close to the chest.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is going to get good.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to follow. I mean, they've got kind of got their fingers in a little bit of everything.
But you
So
know what? And I have become a big fan of Justin Marks. I
yeah,
think what he does is different. I think it's good.
yep,
I tell you what, he's definitely a businessman at heart. He knows his stuff, and he's got a grand plan for everything.
yep. And
Him and Collick are working really well with each other too. So who's to say that there was the early rumors that them two teams might merge,
yep,
which Chris Rice has since denied,
yep.
but it's out there.
Uh, and to boot to all of the wits of Marks, he's got the deep pockets to go with it.
Yep,
And he ain't afraid to use it if he's got it.
absolutely.
So looking at some of his driver moves, especially of late with Zane Smith and Connor Zilic, you can go drive for someone else,
Who's
but
to say that Junior maybe paid Marks a little bit to get Zilich?
they very well could be working a little deal there too in terms of how that season shakes out and where said payouts or sponsor money ends
We're
up.
seeing some baseball type moves. We're gonna compensate with money.
Correct, correct. It's a player in cash.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Maybe in 2 years, maybe we're looking at each other going, "Wow, that was silly. They should have never done that." But he also in 2 years might be going,
That
"That
was the smartest thing that man's done.
that dude's a wizard." Yeah.
Well, look at a couple years ago where he went and bought Ganassi.
Yep.
Nobody saw that coming.
Nope.
Nobody.
Not a shot in hell.
It's just he just pulls them out. That's what he does.
Yeah. It's wild. It's interesting for sure.
Yep. So Stay
Well,
tuned, folks.
yep. And the best part is there's only one thing that'll fix that. Time.
Yep.
As they say, time will tell.
We're going to know by Daytona Speed Weeks where everybody's at.
Yep.
So, all right. Uh, I think it's time to move on to the next one. And obviously, I think we've got to talk about this. Obviously, I think the biggest headline that came out of last week, uh, Scott Bloomquist. Obviously, I think everybody is well known to this point. He lost his life last week in a plane accident on his land. Um, just an absolute superstar on the dirt late model scene. I think that he was the one that really jumped that into what it is now.
No.
That first icon of it.
Yeah. He was literally second class of the Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame, 2002. He's been in the Hall of Fame for
As an active driver.
for 2 decades as an active driver.
Yep.
You don't see or hear that hardly ever.
Yep. And I mean, the accomplishments in their own right come with it. Obviously, he's the owner of the Team Zero race cars. I mean, on the Lucas Oil side of things, 497 starts, 94 wins, 65 poles, and a three-time champ of the series, 2009, 2010, 2016.
Yeah. Hey, his World of Outlaw stats, I pretty much narrow that in half.
Yep.
241 starts, 33 wins, 7 poles, and a champ in 2004.
Yep. All in
So,
all, 8 championships and 3 series. I mean, and then the race wins to go with it
oh
as
my
well.
God. To me, this list here, and you can read them. This list to me is more impressive than the series championships.
Eight-time Dream winner, 4-time World 100 winner, 4-time Blue Gray winner, a few topless 100s like we were just talking about earlier. He's a very iconic man as well. Obviously, we've heard his off-track stories with the aliens and everything like that.
Yeah.
Um,
You know,
but he's had his moments on track as well. Obviously, his broken left front that kept him racing with Lucas Oil.
yeah,
The 2015 Dream where he was light at the scales. I
yeah,
mean, that's just the moments that man had just roll in.
yeah, and
Obviously, that flowing lock of hair too.
yeah, yep, for sure. Still had it to the day he
To this
left.
day. Yep.
And I think we talk about the accolades, the winnings, the money, the all of the victory lanes and the stories, but I think what people often forget until they talk about it is the mentor he was for the guys that drove cars for him.
Yep.
Tyler Reddick
The-
wins the Cup Series race on Monday afternoon, and he mentions it that it's been a tough week.
Yep.
Scott mentored him as a late model driver. Nick Hoffman was another one. He drove for Scott Bloomquist for a while.
Yep.
Just the impact that he had on so many people, not only in the dirt late model world, but also in just disciplines across all of racing. I mean, for Christ's sakes, you got Rico coming out on the shoulders at the dome. Like,
Yep.
oh God. Like, it's just like moments like that you're just like, yeah, I think that's, in those stories have come to light now more so than ever.
Yep.
That impact, I believe, is a very big piece of why um it was just such an impactful loss to all of racing.
Well, and I mean, like even at our time at Cedar Lake, thank God we had the opportunity to go actually see him race in person. We're
Yeah.
roaming the pits at 12:30 in the on Saturday morning,
Yeah.
and here he is, standing out at the edge of the car, taking photos, signing autographs.
Yeah.
And here's a couple of 20-year-old kids coming up to him and just,
We were,
hey man, we just really want a photo.
yep, of course, absolutely. Yeah. No,
Just
that was it was one of the things and we talked about it in the group chat a little bit. That's one of the things you read on the internet and you go, that's not true.
yep.
And then
And you
Flow
see
puts it out, and then Dirt on Dirt puts it out, and
more and more people, and it's and legitimate
then
sources are like,
and Kyle Larson's tweeting, and Rico's
yep,
tweeting, and you're just like, okay, this
this happened.
this is happening. Yep.
Yep.
So That's it. That's truly a gone but never forgotten. Goofy
Yes.
character, down to earth guy. Loved his airplanes, loved his race cars. Um, he loved telling the alien story above the pond. If you hadn't heard it, you can pretty much find it on Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah, he that one of a kind, and truly changed the sport forever.
Absolutely. He's the Earnhardt of NASCAR. He's the John Force of drag racing. Whatever comparisons you want to make out there, he was the dirt late model.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So
So gone too soon, but glad that we had the experiences that we had and the moments that we had.
absolutely.
So all right, let's touch on some other winners from the race week, and then we'll touch on some race previews here.
Yes, sir.
So let me get my spreadsheet pulled up here. World All Late Models. I tell you what, Shirley had a hell of a weekend.
Yeah, the
Went
squirrel.
three. The driver of the three went 3 races in a row with the World Outlaws, winning at Highland. Let's see, one of those
Makokura.
races got rained out.
Makokura, both of them, the last two.
Yep, yep, that's right.
Yeah,
Um,
the squirrel falling three nuts.
you got that right. Kyle Larson ended up winning at High Limit and Thunderbolt, his last appearance for a while with the High Limit series.
Yeah.
Brent Cruz ends up winning the Cars Tour race in late model stocks. King Qualfa won in the Pro Late models. We touched on Thornton winning earlier this year, or won in the prelim night for Topless 100.
Yep.
Carson Macedo won at the Jackson Motorplex. Tyler Courtney won the other high limit race at Kings. Connor Zilich won the Arc Menards race at Michigan. He is currently 100 in his race starts. He's 4 for 4 with the Arc Menards series.
Yep.
Let's see. Dakota Armstrong won the USAC Silver Crown race at Worldwide Technology Raceway. We talked about Sommers at Midwest. Justin Grant won the Silver Crown race at Illinois State Fairgrounds then. Donnie Schatz back in victory lane. He won the Jackson Nationals with the World Outlaws.
Yep.
Xavier Donnie wins the Power Eye Sprint Car race at Lucas Oil. Justin Allgaier, another win for him. He wins at Michigan. James McFadden won at Placerville with the High Limit Series. We talked about Newgarden winning on the IndyCar side of things. And then Swalach ended up winning the Arca Menards race at the Springfield Speedway for the Illinois State Fair.
Yeah, one other quick one I just want to mention. Shane Clanton wins at Sonoya on Sunday for the Hunt the Front Super Ridge Series on a very limited schedule that he's been running. $15,000 payday.
Hey,
So that was pretty cool to see him get that done on that nightmare of a storm that they got on Saturday night and then moved to Sunday. So yeah, that's the
cool.
weekend winners.
All right. We'll move on to some race previews here. Got some doozies coming up here, as I would say.
Yeah, we got what 5 race previews for the weekend here.
Yeah, got a lot of them. I guess I'll touch on the first one since I'm somewhat well. I'll take the first column. You take the second column. We'll hammer this last one together.
Got it. Game on.
All right. So, ASA Stars National Tour. I know we touched on it a little bit last week. Well, they suspended their race up until this following weekend. So, we get a re-rack and redo. New entry onto this one. Casey Roderick puts his name in for this one. So, additional entry there. Maybe some rumors about another driver, but we'll maybe touch on that one later.
Yeah, it'd be a little surprise.
Yep. So keep an eye on the point standings as well. Obviously, with Butcher out this weekend as well, you get a shakeup of the point standings, and obviously the owners' points is where that money comes into play as well. So keep an eye on that. The other one coming to mind, and I will be on the ground for this one, the Arca Menard Series and the Truck Series at the Milwaukee Mile. This is the second year that they've run on this one in the doubleheader. Cup with racing on Saturday night. They race on Sunday afternoon for this one. I'm excited for this. It was a good race last year. Majeski's obviously going to be a heavy favorite. Hopefully he doesn't have any bleeding tires this time around.
Aye.
I had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
But But no, I'm excited. That'll be actually 2 weekends in a row for me at Milwaukee. I'll be at the IndyCar race as well, but we'll talk about that next weekend. So looking forward to that one.
Nice. That previews kind of some of the bigger asphalt races for the coming weekend. On the dirt side, dirt super late model racing, we have Lucas Oil at Port Royal on Friday and Saturday night. Friday 40 lap, 10 grand to win. Saturday, $50,000 to win, Rumble by the River. So you can catch all of that on Flow for their races. So 60 grand up for grabs for them. Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series back in action for the second weekend in a row. They head to Lake Cumberland Speedway for the first time Friday and Saturday, and it's kind of their traditional format of 5,000 on Friday and 15 grand on Saturday night for their season as they continue to charge on here in the month of August.
All
So,
right.
and the last kind of for us is a big one because we'll both be there.
Yes. The Howie Little Memorial at Madison has definitely turned into one of the good tracks to run at this year. Um, sorry, I'm mucking with the spreadsheet a little bit. Good entry list, and a couple more entries came in earlier today. 5K to win on Friday. Let's see, I'm looking at this. Yeah, Austin Asa was winner last year with the rain that never came, but affected strategies. Stormy was there early, but he kind of fell off. And obviously with the point standings, it's going to be interesting, especially with now Majeski saying that he's probably going to miss practice and qualifying.
Yeah, that's okay.
So he's so he's going to pull a little bit of a trickle and show up late and start from the rear.
Yep. Yeah, it's that was the race. The rain never came. They talked about it. Never did rain. But uh we had mentioned the point standings flip, but honestly the list, the entry list, you mentioned a couple surprise entries and I didn't see it till now. Kaler's in there now. That was on his schedule, but just updated is now. Um
Being there.
and Jacob Geedy.
Yep.
So those are two in the last day, but then when you look at the entry of the list itself, you talk about most of your regular Midwest tour guys. You have Sommers, more so than not Johnson, Vandergeest, Mondyke, Fredrickson, Lynch, Stenjem, Edmonds, Berge. Zier always runs Madison, but then you also have the likes of Majeski, Fenhouse, Schaefer, Kaler, and now Gady as well. So
Yep.
a good surprise entry list though.
Blake Brown's going to be running as well. Handful of years since he's run a super late model there. Kyle Shears on the entry list. I'm holding my breath. I hope he's there, but I'm holding my breath. Jeremy Lepak's going to be there. Yeah, just 29 cars as of really today. So,
No.
rule of thumb, you take a couple cars off. So, if we're looking at 26, it's going to be a good field.
You're gonna have some hammers there that are gonna have something to say with this, that the 91 isn't just gonna run away with this one.
Correct. And obviously, we got the Midwest Truck Series there as well. They always bring in a good car count, 29.
Yeah.
Looking at for that one.
Yeah, they got an impressive entry list. Then honestly, the Midwest Truck Series puts on some of the best racing. The field is so tight all the
Yep.
time.
And so respectful of each other, too.
Yep. Yep. They don't, you never see guys really truly roughing each other up. They're just more racing deals. But
Yep.
yeah, they don't get the love they deserve. Let's put it that way. They
Correct.
found a fantastic racing product. So, all right, let's run through some other races on the schedule this weekend before we get into the fantasy recap. Back in action on Wednesday night, the 21st, you have Castro Floor Racing Night in America at Lernerville. Thursday, we head to Kaukauna for the Blue Race Super Late Models up here as well at WIR. Looking down the list a little bit more, you have the USAC Amsoil Sprint Cars at Kokomo, High Limit at Silver Dollar.
That's going to be a big one. They're racing for some big money on that one.
Yes, they are for sure. Well, Bam Dirt Late Models head to Plymouth. As we look down here a little bit further, World Outlaw Sprint Cars at River Cities, World Outlaw Late Models at Atomic, American Canadian Tour at Oxford Plains, past Super Lates, also at Oxford Plains.
That's going to be another big one, the Oxford 250.
Yep, for sure. Cars Tour, Wake County Speedway, late model stock cars. I headed there. Badger Midget Auto Racing at Wilmot. As we mentioned, ASA Stars National Tour at Owasso, the Milwaukee Mile. Entity IndyCar Series at Portland International, IMSA WeatherTech at Virginia International, Formula One at Van de Voort,
Netherlands.
Netherlands.
The Netherlands.
Okay, we'll call it that. Um, and then High Limit rounds out the week at Douglas County and Grays Harbor.
Couple a Monday and a Wednesday race in there.
Yeah, for sure. So that's the weekend ahead.
A lot of good racing. All right. Fantasy. Fantasy turned out better for me than I thought it was after the points got updated. Which I don't know how that happened. I thought I was gonna have a terrible week at that. Let me pull
Yeah,
that up here real quick.
I kind of finally put together a week. I don't know whose car alarm is going off, but that is driving me absolutely. Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
you ended up winning the week by 2 points over me, and then Cam was 10 points behind me. So we were pretty well grouped together. No real changes as far as points gained or loss
Yeah,
on each other. Rough week for all of us. You were only 173 points, which is usually a rough week.
yeah, for sure.
So as we get closer to regular season standings, I continue to hold a pretty good lead. I'm almost at a 300-point lead. And then Cam's almost 200 points over you, and then you are about 150 over Gasman's girl. So
Yep.
it's not over yet, but positions are kind of falling into place.
Yeah. Kind of
So
settled into our respective battles.
yep. And the same thing kind of goes with the race pick standings. I'm currently up by 120 points, and then Cam is above you by what is that,
50,
40, 50
48,
points.
50, yeah, give or take.
That could change here or there. So
Yeah.
getting to the nitty-gritty again. So
Yeah, for
um
sure.
Cam was the rough end of the stick on this one. He ended up picking Larson, who finished third to last. But then me and you did pretty good. We finished back to back on each other. I got the better end of you with Kozlowski, and you had Busher at Michigan. So,
Yeah, for sure.
so how do we want to handle this with the third man not here and he's first pick?
He gets to pick last. I mean, let's be honest, it's
It's
Daytona.
Daytona.
You could pick who you could literally pick a card and you might still win the race with that, you
Yeah,
know?
throw a dart at the dartboard, basically.
Yeah.
Well, by that point, then it looks like I get to pick first. I don't know. You know what? Screw it. Just because it's Daytona, I'm gonna go with the homer. Give me Blaney.
Okay. All right. I can respect that. I think he usually finds himself in trouble, but I'm gonna take the 47 of Stenos. He's a
All
good
right.
he's a
Yep.
good plate racer, but he usually finds himself mixing it up just a little bit too much.
Yep. For sure.
So it's the 47th episode. I figured the 47 would be a good pick.
Hey, there you go.
Coincidence? I think not, but we'll see.
And then we will get Cam's pick later, and let him decide from there.
Yeah, for sure. We could here. Hold on. Let's try something. Let's
You're gonna
quick.
see if he answers right away.
See if he answers his phone. But this is the race that's going to shake the playoffs up here.
Yep. Absolutely. Do we
So
see a surprise winner? We'll find out.
I have a feeling we do.
And then we go to Darlington the week after, which will make things even more interesting.
Correct. No answer. So, nope, he's last. Is what it is. We gave him a chance.
Yep. So what do you guess for not being here?
Yep, for sure.
So, all right. Well, I think we had a really good conversation. Obviously, we had some great racing, but I think we got some really good off-season discussions. Obviously, talked about Bloomer a little bit, but just some good episode. I feel like we had a good talk here. Um, Obviously a lot of great racing, but we got a lot of great racing coming up here as well. A couple more crown jewels coming down the pipeline, and yeah, I'm just excited for the weekend. Should be a good weekend of racing coming up. So
Starts early with that work week being 1 day shorter.
got that right.
Yeah, that's always
Um,
awesome.
yep.
Get head to the racetrack on a Friday instead of Saturday.
Hey y'all. So obviously keep an eye on the socials. We keep putting out videos. We'll have race previews coming out hopefully this week as well. Hit that like, subscribe, hit that bell so you know when we post anything. Um and if Beaver Dam's an example, go out to your local short track. I can't preach it enough. They appreciate the feedback and drivers love it when you come chat to them as well. So always visit your local short track. Indulge in the culinary delights as well
Yep,
that the track might provide. So
that's for sure.
otherwise, sit tight. We'll talk about some more racing next week, and of course, tune into whatever you can to watch as much as you can. Otherwise, we will see y'all next time on the next episode of the Tuesday Track Talk.